I don't believe in ETs. I don't believe in UFOs. I think people who think about that stuff or believe in it are crackpots. I'm talking to a friend of mine and I'm saying this was so freaking confusing. And he said, why don't we do some sessions and see what happens? On the very fourth session, I see myself living in a pyramid. I am Mayan. I am the priestess of my people. This lifetime of me was powerful and amazing. Before I left, I had questions. And I asked her, how did she create like that? She telepathically said, I'm not from here. I am from another universe. There are aspects of me that are galactic, that live in other universes. This stuff with the ETs, with UFOs, oh my God, it's true.
My guest today is Debbi Dachinger, who has been on numerous podcasts, and she has her own amazing podcast called Dare to Dream. And today we are going to have a very deep collaborative conversation. So Debbi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation to be here and to have this exquisite conversation. And I'm really all about where people get a takeaway. And so my hope, my intention to start this off is that your audience members each find at least one nugget that they can think about, change their direction about, incorporate into their life, that we help in some way.
So, when you've had these experiences, what and how did they change you? How have you become different because of what you know and understand from being on the other side with them? Which is probably a 10-hour answer.
Uh-huh. I can make it succinct-ish because I've been doing it for quite some time. Listen, I just want to start because I always think you need, some kind of caveat with this stuff. I don't think it's for everybody.
No, I agree.
And I think you have to be called. And then that's how it was for me. I was completely not about it. And then grandmother ayahuasca just literally out of nowhere tapped on my shoulder. And I'm like, what the heck? And I know energy and I know when to follow energy and I know truth. I'm very discerning. And so I knew, whoa, this is my path. And by the way, the first time when that happened, one of the things that immediately happened after that, the knowing, the yes, and me saying, okay, I'm in, synchronicity, synchronicity. It was such a beautiful universe to love me so much, to show me in so many different ways, this was us, kid. We're pointing you there. There's no mistakes. Make no doubt about this. We did call you. I mean, really crazy stuff. So I did, I'll tell you the first time because I've done it many times over the years, but not all of them have moved the needle, period. But I've done many medicines. I have done ayahuasca, I've done yahe, I've done San Pedro or huachuma, I've done ketamine, I've done a lot of mushrooms, I've done DMT, bufo, just trying to think if there's anything else. So there's sort of the buffet. And I don't do anything unless it calls me because I've also stopped. So the first time I left this country, not the first time I drank, first time I left this country, Lori, I went to Costa Rica and I was going to be doing 4 nights back to back, ayahuasca, 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 yahe, drinking with some very seasoned shamans and also with discernment. Because listen, your audience who may be interested in this, I don't call anyone who serves medicine a shaman because I'm a shamanic practitioner and I've spent many, many years doing this. And you have got to be chosen by lineage, by spirit. You put in decades and decades of work and before you can even be called a shaman. So let's be clear, most people who serve medicine just serve medicine. They're facilitators. In this case in Costa Rica, I was with shamans, these These people, what they had been through to get there was very impressive. So I'm drinking medicine and all the things are happening, and a lot of healing, tremendous experiences, just amazing. And the one thing that was repetitive starting night one was that this very feminine God figure, meaning the divine herself, came to me and she said, Debbie, you are a shaman, you are a healer, and you are a priestess. And I was like, I am not. I started arguing with her because I had no context. I had no idea what she was talking about. I thought that was embarrassing. Look at the people who are in this room holding this space. Those are shamans. They're in a tribe, they're not some white girl from the United States. Healer, I had no clue, but I knew a lot of healers. All my friends were healers. Everyone who came on my podcast were healers. And then priestess, like, wow, this is getting interesting. So I argued with her and sort of just pushed that information away because like, what do I do with that? Second night, she comes back again. Debbie, you're a shaman, you're a healer, you're a priestess. Now, at this time, I'm deeply spiritual. I've got the Dare to Dream podcast with lots of channelers and healers and exquisite people coming on. But I don't believe in ETs. I don't believe in UFOs. I think people who think about that stuff or believe in it are crackpots. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. So I have no context for healer. And she comes back the second night, says the same thing, only this time she starts to show me the power I have inside. And I'm watching myself heal the room. All right. And the third night she comes back, says the same thing again over me. And she also adds another piece to it. Fourth night, same thing, says the same. She's not going away. She's going to make sure I get this message. And on the fourth night, she insists that I go up to the shamans and ask for a blessing as a shaman. 20 minutes of arguing. I was on medicine, but I was still so embarrassed. And so I finally just acquiesced because I was tired of arguing. And I went up and they agreed, which amazed me. So I got a blessing. Then she insisted I got another blessing to understand my shaman's path. I come back to the United States. I'm talking to a friend of mine. I'm sharing this, and he's a great healer. And I'm saying this was so freaking confusing. And he said, well, why don't we do some sessions and see what happens? So we do a regression session, and I'm seeing myself very clearly as a male shaman. Now this stuff is coming up and out, powerful. And I'm seeing many lifetimes like this. Okay, now I'm getting it. I'm getting it, the connection. Thank you. On the very fourth session that we have, I see myself living in a pyramid. I am Mayan. I am the priestess of my people. I'm over 7 feet tall, very, very, very skinny, not like anybody on earth would be. And I was like, this aspect of me, this lifetime of me was like I don't even know how to explain how powerful and amazing she was to me. Spent a lot of time with her. And before I left, I had questions. And I asked her something about how did she create like that? Like, how did she do it? And I was kind of thinking law of attraction and stuff. And she shook her head and telepathically said to me, I'm not from here. I am from another universe. And this man gently took me out of the session, and I was just agog because I thought, my goodness, truth. It's the truth. There are aspects of me that are galactic, that live in other universes. This stuff with the ETs, with UFOs that a lot of people have been talking about, oh my God, it's true. So the one thing I had, because still there was massive confusion, it's not like all the pieces fell into place, but I'm a journalist, I'm a researcher. And so I started deep diving into shamanism, deep diving into extraterrestrials. So, how did that change my life? Completely. Because all these years later, I became a shamanic practitioner because I just wanted the information and I started following the greatest shamans that came into my space and worked with them and got certifications. I changed my entire podcast, which was just, like I said, spiritual. Me, I used to help people write books and get booked on podcasts for guest interviews. And all of a sudden, and I'm not doing anything. So, mind you, there's a contingency somewhere that is aware Debbi has come online. And they start sending me out. I mean, I'm getting invitations from Mexico City to speak at the World Ufology event. I got 2 invitations from Gaia TV to speak, and I've done 2 interviews there, major podcasts, one after the other, after the other, after the other. It has been so much. I've traveled the world in these years speaking. So did Aya change me? 100%. Plus, there's a piece of who I am, not just what I do, but the fact that this really is a large part of my world, and I get to work on people, healing them, and I get to do this. I love this work. Like, I'm built for this, and I never would have known. And I have 2 other stories I can tell about in the many years of doing this, life changing, but I'll take a pause there.
Well, I want to say I had never been to Costa Rica until last week. I just got home on Sunday, and you're telling a story about you going to Costa Rica. So, again, another synchronicity, so crazy. I had also written down and starred your experience about the Mayan priestess in the past life regression. So, I'm thrilled that this part of the conversation brought us around to that. And then the other area I really wanted to explore with you was how you go from thinking that ETs are crackpot to actually understanding them on a different level. So, before we go into the other 2 stories, can you explain from your perspective, your experience, and the many people that you've spoken to about this, what are ETs in your version of your experience?
Oh, it's cool. It's a question I've never been asked. I like that.
I love
So,
that.
what are ETs? Well, they are beings, they are species, they are life forces that are also a piece of source God. They just happen to look different, and they happen to be living on a planet where circumstances are different. Maybe they live in water because they're aquatic. Maybe they live underground. Maybe they live on ground. Generally speaking, they are far, far, far advanced than we are. Generally speaking, they are benevolent. There's a small faction of malevolence, but in general, most of them don't often need to talk because they're telepathic. A lot of them don't need to eat. They're breatharians. Some do. They're often beings of great love and communication. Many of them, not all, many of them are very interested in us as humans because we are their family. We literally have extraterrestrial genetics inside of us. And to go a little deeper into that, because I think it warrants that, Francis Crick is the gentleman who discovered DNA. And Francis Crick won a Nobel Peace Prize. He was very ahead of his time. And he came out and said, I am looking at this thing called DNA, all these strands that make up each of the humans. And what is outstanding about what I'm looking at, there is so much complexity to this that if we look at other strands of DNA, this is showing it's not just from Earth, that it has been populated by other advanced civilizations. Now, that was a big deal for somebody like him to come out with when he did, but he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And all these years later, there are many scientists who look at what was once considered to be junk DNA, when in fact, there is nothing gray matter about it. It's actually matter that is highly populated, sometimes activated, right now being activated by everything, by sun codes, by ascension, by our family, our galactic family. And just to conclude that piece, for instance, there is a very serious scientific facility called the Human Genome Project. And many of their scientists have put out papers, and you can look them up. Makukov and Sherbak are two of those scientists who wrote that they found pictographs in our DNA, that they found mathematical equations, that there were so many things found in that junk DNA that signified that something was spreading life across the cosmos. Here and many other places, we were just the recipients. There's a lot of history I could go into around this, but I don't think that's really the subject du jour. But that's generally who extraterrestrials are. Many of them are living their own life and are not even interested in us. But the ones who are deeply connected to us, like the praying mantis, like the Arcturians, like the Pleiadians, like the Lyrans, like the bird, the avian people, and the reptilians, all genetics inside of us. So we are deeply connected with them, those in particular. And I think the extraterrestrials, to sum this up, it is the next part of our evolution to welcome this in to Earth, to humans. And not everybody's online about this. But for those of us who really are and are really aware of this and what's going on in Congress and Senate right now, it's happening. It's happening. And some of the greatest channelers are saying as early as next year, we are going to start to see some things that if you didn't believe before, baby, you will now. But there is nothing to be frightened of. These will be very benevolent beings. Don't anticipate like a White House landing like we've seen on media, eye roll. It will be way more of a different interaction. Very
So,
positive.
Debbie,
Yeah.
when you mentioned that the DMT helped you to thin the veil, do you think that that was one of the catalysts, kind of an Easter egg that you planted to find so that you could then connect more to the galactic family? And secondly, we're veiled completely here, and most of us are just beginning to wake up and remember who we are. The veil is thinning for a lot of us. Do you think that the ones that we are connecting with are completely unveiled and remember that they're all one?
Yes, I think that they don't have what we have. What we have such an extreme degree of separation here. We all chose a tough lifetime and a tough conditions, period. It's not like this in other places at all. And there's so much illusion that we live with. As far as the DMT, yes, I don't know about that. That's a great question, but I have felt very strongly that the universe, that they couldn't wait till my ego was knocked out. Meaning, not that I've got a huge ego, it's we all do. We're all operating with this
Function without
ego,
it. You have to.
right?
Yeah.
It protects you. We're born with it. And but I think they wanted my defenses so low to literally lower all the barriers so that they could access me. I think they wanted to talk to me so badly, and they were sitting back going. And then they figured out ayahuasca's on the scene, and then, we'll come in. Let's wait till she does it a little bit. And I really feel like that's been so several times, how they've come to me. It's been extraordinary. I've been having that conversation specifically about synchronicity quite a bit with people this week because things seem to keep happening. And from what I understand, that is the times we're in. We are in very synchronistic times. And when you tap in and you're in the flow and you're open and you're putting certain things out, they magnetize something very similar right back to them. So I'm glad that we just had that.
I am too. So, can you share with us one of the biggest synchronicities that's kind of knocked you off of your feet lately?
Yeah, I have a lot of experiences. Some of them are leaving my body while I dream, and some people might call it astral projecting, but and sometimes that is true. And sometimes though I leave and I go into another concurrent lifetime of mine and I live that. And in these lifetimes or experiences, this is going to be a comma, plus I, at this point in my life, I do a few things with plant medicine. One of them is smoking DMT, and I do not do it to party. I do it because there's not only enormous growth for me, but it takes down the veil of what's between me and the other sides. And that's very important to me. And in many of these DMT short lived journeys, I keep seeing color, some of the most extraordinary colors you can imagine. Blended colors, colors I would never think to put together, patterns. And they excite the heck out of me because they're so gorgeous. And then I had a dream. Aside from DMT, I actually had a dream, and it was just the most joyous dream. And in this dream, I was in this big, sort of like if you ever took ballet as a kid, and I did. I did a lot of dance because I was a professional actress for a long time. And I was in what I would say a ballet room, a dance studio. And there were a lot of women there. And we were told that this woman who's an expert in colors was going to come teach us. But she sent word ahead that she wanted me, Debbie, to ascertain with all of the people there, and they were all my friends, all of the people there, who was wearing the right colors, how were they wearing the right colors, how were they combining colors. I was so excited in this dream. And I was thinking about my friend Bettina. Oh, she's really unique. And I know I'm going to talk about these things she wears. And I'm thinking about this person. And so this is how the dream is going. And the woman is not there yet and she hasn't arrived. And then somebody puts on some music. And I go into this complete ecstatic state in the dream. And there are bubbles. And in a big circle, we're all dancing like as moving forward in this circle, and I'm just leaping and doing the bubbles, and there are like ribbons behind me, and the joy I was feeling this whole experience around color, around someone even entrusting me and sending word ahead that Debbie's going to be the one. I did have one interesting thing where a friend of mine in the dream, she was a little jealous, like, why is it Debbie? Why is she's asking for Debbie? Why is it always Debbie? And I thought in the dream, well, that's my human design. That's my numerology. That's my DNA. I was set up for this. I'm literally thinking this in the dream. Anyway, I'm dancing around bubbles and ribbons. Bubbles. I felt so much joy, this whole idea of color. I wake up. Now I'm okay. Got all this stuff with DMT. I've had a dream once about being an interior designer in another lifetime. Now I have this wow dream of joy and color. And I thought, what is this? Like, there's something important here, but I don't understand it. So here's the synchronicity. I have somebody come, this is very recent. I have somebody come on my Dare to Dream podcast. I'm interviewing this woman, and I'm very clear who she is. She does a lot of dark stuff. She's a witch. She's super cool, very articulate. And she created a dark tarot set, basically to bring out people's shadow. So I'm saying this on purpose because I want you to get the setup because you can't possibly know what's coming next. And she's riveting, very successful person in what she does. And at the very end of my show, I always say to the guest, what do you next dare to dream? What are your future dreams and goals? And this person looked at me and said, I'm going to write a book on color. And I just thought, you cannot write that. My jaw. And I've been interviewing for 19 years. I've had a podcast radio show. I have never had my jaw fall down before, but I thought, wow, there's something very important for me here. And I'm going to pay attention to this. I'm going to get to know this person. So when I had that question, what is this about? Why am I thinking about color? Why is this important? I feel like then the universe says, let's give you the next piece. Here's the synchronicity.
I love that. All right, you mentioned that you had a couple of really profound experiences. We went off in a little bit of the rabbit hole because I think it was really important for the context of understanding and how, with these experiences. So, will you share those in whatever way you'd like to?
Absolutely. The other two that are sort of good reference points. Let's see. Yes. So one time I did Huachuma. Huachuma is a cactus. It's a big heart opener. It's a very beautiful experience. And while I was on it again, the divine came. This is many years later. And the divine came to me and said, Debbi, what happened to music? And I'm like, I didn't know what to say to her. And then he said, Debbi, do it. It never left you. So that is a time my whole life got changed again because of her question. And the final one is I had given up. I was just really complete with ayahuasca, very grateful, but I felt no need. And a couple of years had gone by, and out of nowhere, I heard that I was to drink again. And I thought, oh, okay. Oh, I know what it is. Got it. Now I'm a shaman. Now, like grandmother Aya wants to sit down. She wants to, because, my shaman capacity, she has a lot of really good messages for me. So I'm all psyched. I go to this ceremony. It's a whole weekend ceremony. And Lori, I was so full of it. That's not even what happened. She had no intention of giving me really amazing shamanic downloads. She wanted me to work on my relationship with my mother. And the whole weekend was about my mom. I mean, from the time I was this to into my adulthood, just cleaning, cleaning, cleaning. And I remember at one point calling over the shaman and going, I'm exhausted. I feel like I got this. Okay, I got it. I got it. I'm working on it. Like we just did a lot. And he said, it's over when it's over. You just got to surrender. And I thought, okay, I can do that. I know how to do that on medicine. And so I just surrendered and let it all take its course. Um, the next night was whatever, nothing major happened. And then the weekend was over. And I was like, wow, that was pretty remarkable. Go back into my life. And 1.5 weeks later, my mother's health completely changes. And she ends up in ICU and she ends up in the hospital. Um, and it is clear my mother is dying. And so I would never have been prepared for that because that was not the case when I went into that ceremony. Her health was fine. Grandmother Ayahuasca was really taking care of me and bringing me in to do this so that I was able to show up for my mother as a shaman, as a shamanic practitioner, so that I could help her to the light, I could help her across the Rainbow Bridge, that I could do everything. Night after night, I would go back, and there were many things I performed over her. And I definitely felt my grandfather there who has passed. It was quite beautiful, I have to say. And I'm so proud of the way I was able to show up and so happy that she had that at the end of her life, like somebody so there for her. And yeah, that was the second time. I mean, there's been other, things along the way, but those were the ones that really moved the Richter scale in my life, changed the trajectory.
How beautiful. I'm so glad you shared that. Debbie, it's interesting being in this place where you have a podcast and we talk to people. I've done so many interviews with people who've had near-death experiences, and I think a lot of people who find this channel find it because they've experienced a loss. They're now trying to decide what happens to our loved ones when they die, or maybe something is imminent within them and they know that their illness is going to take them and they want to be less afraid of dying. Will you tell everybody what you've learned through these experiences, through the experience with your mother, through these medicines where we connect to the other side? What is death? What do you think it is?
I love that. And so there's so much to this, but I really want to just speak what's in my heart. First, I want to say that I understand. I understand being afraid of death. I really do. I think I've been like that most of my life because it's this incredible unknown. And the idea of suddenly ceasing to exist, or who or what you'll leave behind, and then the then what, all of this stuff, it's a big deal. It's a big situation. And I've lost not a ton, but a lot of people in a way, like a lot of family. And what death has been for me is it has helped soften me,
Mm,
because I love very deeply. And when I love so deeply and I lose someone, obviously I go through what anyone does, but it's a journey to get to the other side of a loss, a significant loss, whether it's an animal or
mm,
a person. And I think it's
mhm.
really important to bring animals into this because they
Me
can,
too.
whew,
Yeah.
for some people, that's worse than the humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a big deal, and it is real. It's a real difficult initiation. How it softens, I feel like there's a choice. It's kind of like a breakup or a divorce. And some people say, that's it. All men are this, all women are that. And they've locked away their heart. But wouldn't it be amazing, especially in these days, if we soften instead after we do the work? And so that's what death has done for me. It's softened me because I realize relationships are very important to me. I stay in touch with people I love. I make plans with people I love. And I live in LA, and that is not popular, right? So I do. And if somebody tells me they have something going on, oh, I'm going to get this procedure. Oh, I'm worried about this. Or maybe it's something glorious, whatever it is, because I know I won't remember. I'll put it on my calendar on this date, and then I'll reach out to them on that date. I do follow up with people. And if it's really big in someone's space, I will follow up a lot to let them know somebody cares and is there for them. And then, as far as what I understand death to be, some of removing this veil has been so helpful because and I'm looking at everything while I talk to you right now. There, when I'm on these things, there are no walls. There's nothing. All this very 3D stuff completely goes away, and this gorgeous expanse and experiences and beings. And I recently, on a very, very, very powerful mushroom journey, I've done mushrooms quite a bit. And right before we drank, just a week before this last Saturday, so very recently, my partner says, "Oh, by the way," he said, "these are really strong." And I'm like, "How strong?" Wait a second. Because I know, you know, you got to figure your weight, your metabolism, and all this stuff. And he's giving me this huge cup, and in my brain, I'm going, "Oh my God, I'm 113 pounds. Like, He gave me, usually I'll take at least 2 grams. He gave me 1.75, but he says it's very strong. And my intuition said, stop at 1.5. Thank God. Because it was unbelievable. Went on and on and on and on for hours and hours, way longer than most journeys. It was way deeper than a mushroom experience, but I actually experienced my soul. It was so amazing. And there was definitely a benevolent being there with me. And I don't know if it was my soul speaking to me or something else, very aware of me. But I experienced my soul and my power. And I was guided to heal people in my life, an animal I know who's sick, asking permission from the soul first. I was doing things at a level I have not done sober like me right now. And it was phenomenal experience. I will never forget this experience. And I bring it up because I feel like having experienced my soul, my oversoul, if you will, I feel so much more peace with knowing that that's what's waiting for me, that there's a reunion. And I heard it said that it's like, here's what death is like. And this is from an NDE person, like a lot of NDEs. And I thought this was a beautiful way to explain it. That imagine that you're traveling along in a car, and all of a sudden the car stops, which is death, and you get out of the car and you walk away. So it's just that you're leaving the body, but the whole rest of you goes out intact. And not only intact, but it gets to reintegrate with the all of who you are. And because we have so many lifetimes happening, some people see it linear, like past, future, and all this. I see it all as concurrent, happening at the same time, because there's no such thing as time. It's an illusion. And you get to reintegrate. And I also have this understanding that I love, which I think really helps people to hear, that as we work through things, and I know a lot of your listeners work on themselves, are really sincere about it. And that's so beautiful, because as you work and up level yourself, there are old lifetimes that weren't so pleasant that are complete and drift away because of the work you're doing now. So the ripples are great for you now, for this lifetime and everyone else you impact, for the collective, but also for all your other lifetimes. And so I feel if that's so, then when we pass, then we'll be at such a greater level than when we came into this life. And I think that's the last thing about death. If there was ever a call to live, it is death. If there was ever a knock knock on your heart to love, on you to, what is it I really want to do? Like beyond bucket list. Do not wait. Even if you live out your glorious life to your 80s or 90s, let it be so joy filled what you did, who you were there for, the relationships you created, the places you got to go to, the ways you expressed yourself and sang your song out loud into the planet, and anything else along the way that calls to you. I can't imagine a greater gift than death in reminding us of the brevity and the importance of really living.
Oh my gosh, Debbie, that was so beautiful. I want to make sure I'm giving people time to hear how they can find you, about your award-winning books, but I feel really compelled to ask you one more question. Do you have time for one more question?
Yes.
Okay. This question is super important. Why are we here? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's the age-old question, isn't it? And I think we are told At least I'm told that the reason we are here is because we are literally source. We are literally God. And we are here because God is so fascinated to know itself. God says, wow, well, as magnificent as I am, what if I made a gabillion of me and they all were a different aspect of my light? And I gave them free will and they made all these wild choices. Now, along the way, their soul is going to set up a few little points of things we actually would like them to experience or do out in the world, should they agree to it in their lifetime. But Source is very interested in experiencing itself. It's a little difficult for me because I still think, when I reunite with God and we're like this, how I want, I think we all have that question about the people we look at and the things that happen that are really hard to swallow and that are really hard to believe in a time when we're awakening and ascending that they still go on. But I also believe that why we are here, and literally the people watching this right now, you and me, Lori, is that our souls made an agreement and that we saw what was going to happen on Earth. Like literally, this was predicted. You could repeat Lemuria, you could repeat Atlantis, you could repeat any of these galactic wars, but and also the fact that there really was a flood here on Earth that wiped out all of Earth and all of humanity, flora, fauna. There was the Ice Age that did the same thing. These things existed, and humanity started all over again. Do we want to get there because of nuclear war? Do we want to get there because you look different or act different? Do we want to go down that road? And frankly, do we want to pull our power back from some of the dark forces that play with the illusions that are going on? Or do we want to claim our sovereignty and our right to be the light we came here to be? And ultimately, that is truly what I believe. Every single one of us holds a piece of the puzzle of heaven here on earth, and that we came to be that light. And when there are dark times, and when we see things on the news or hear, oh my gosh, the oil or this country or the money or all the things, trafficking, all the things that hurt our hearts so much, feel that because you have a big heart. Of course you do. And then remember why you came here. Oof. Be strong. I came to be the light. I came to do my work. I came to lead the way. I came to show others what's possible. That's who I am. That's why my soul chose this time. And that's when they asked, who can do this at this time? And all the many, many, many souls that raised their hands, they chose you to be here. There were others still in the waiting line. So remember the magnificence you hold inside of you to make a difference right now.
Debbie, that was one of the most beautiful explanations. I really hope people who are listening actually rewind this, go back to my question, and listen to your answer again. I mean, phenomenal. Phenomenal. I wish I had more time with you. I loved this conversation so much. I would imagine people who are watching are chomping at the bit to know how they can connect to your Dare to Dream podcast, how they can find your books and what they're about, and what else you're working on because you're doing these healing things. You've got so many irons in the fire. It's incredible.
I do. And I really believe in just following energy and doing my passion, but it all actually works and makes sense in my life. So the easiest way is my name. And if you spell it right, you'll get there. My website is debbidachinger.com. It's Debbi, there's no E, Debbi. And the last name is Austrian, so it's Dachinger, debbidachinger.com. Also on YouTube, Debbi Dachinger. And if people want a media gift, like to learn more about media, because I still have stuff out there about that, which is very helpful right now for those who want visibility. you can go to debbidachinger.com/gift. And for those that felt a little something something when I said about the galactics and star seeds, and if you have any wonderment there, debbidachinger.com/starseed. It's a full-on video and report about who you are in your galactic ancestry and lineage. And what I'm doing right now, I'm in the middle of a 9-week channeling program. I have culled with my dear friend Neil Gar from Portal to Ascension. We've culled together 13 of the most amazing channelers, and they're all channeling for us, and they're also teaching us channeling. It's been incredible so far. And I'm speaking many, many, many places. I'm performing in June, and I'm speaking in Glastonbury, UK. I have a lot of speaking gigs, and if folks sign up and they're interested, anytime I do a program, or what I used to do, I'm so busy right now traveling, but I will get back to it because I have a huge audience for this, and I love the folks who show up. But I do these healings online, and they're around 90 minutes, so people just show up and receive. And they are a shamanic galactic healing, and it's profound what happens for people during these. So you're more than welcome to join this once a month healing. Sometimes I do new moon or full moon ceremonies. Those are also beautiful, letting go of stuff or bringing in what you prefer and really manifesting. And again, my website, debbidachinger.com, is where you can find everything.
Beautiful. So Debbie, I ask you one last thing. What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that this is just an amazing journey. And I know for sure, I really know for sure that we are loved, that we are so seen and known. There's a long period of my life where I really felt that separation, and I don't anymore. And I think when we ask and just ask for help, whether it's from the angels or my guides or whatever it is you believe in, and often in my case, it is my galactic family I speak directly to, but also all of the above. And I always preface it by saying benevolent, that I want to be protected and safe. And I know they are so here for me. And they have orchestrated things so beautifully. And this is available to all of us, all of us. So I know for sure we are really loved. I know really we're the light workers. And I know this journey is so amazing, just so amazing and yummy.
Oh my gosh, I agree. Well, Debbie, I loved this confirmation with a capital LOVE. And I want to thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for all of the work that you have put in through all of the wisdom that you have accumulated in the integration of these, because not everybody really understands what it takes to integrate these journeys and experiences. But thank you mostly for what you are doing to help wake up the collective. It is so needed right now.
Yes, I really agree. I agree. And we have to be a family and we have to be a community. So thank you for this amazing platform and creating a place where we can come and have these conversations, Lori.
Oh, I love it. This is the best part of my day. These feed my soul. And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch, to listen, and to share these beautiful experiences with somebody who needs them. And if you still have questions, you can join me for Wake Up Wednesdays live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Do you believe that love never dies and you want to hear stories that prove it? Well, hit the subscribe button. You belong here.